What's up, YouTube? It's RJ with Harbuck Media here again, and today we're going to discuss, should you record videos in 4K? But before we get into the content today, I'd like to invite you, as always, to become a subscriber if you're not already. Don't forget to smash that notification bell so that you're notified of all of our upcoming content. We post videos every Friday at 12, as well as YouTube Shorts Monday through Friday. And so we want to make sure that you're notified of all those videos as they hit the page. If you have a comment about this video today or any of our past videos that we've done, if you have any questions, be sure to drop them down in the comment section. We will do our best to respond as quickly as possible. And if it's a question that really deserves more of a long form answer, then we'd love the opportunity to turn it into a video and really try to dive into that answer for you. If you like the video today, be sure to give us a like, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and let's get into the video content today.
Oh, fire and water me, going down deep, sing, oh, bury me, carry me, oh, far beneath, down to the river.
So, should you record in 4K? And right out the gate, let's just go ahead and say, if possible, yes, absolutely you should record in 4K. Now, why do I say if possible? Well, the obvious answer is that not all cameras can record in 4K. If you're using an older camera, something that's just lying around, if you're using a webcam, some webcams record in 4K, but not all cameras record in 4K. Not all webcams record in 4K. If you're using one of the new iPhones, that can record in 4K. It can actually do 4K with 60 frames per second. But some of the older phones and even some of the new phones don't record in 4K. And then you've got issues like if you're recording using webcam over Zoom, if you're doing those interviews through Zoom, Zoom doesn't record in 4K. And so there's limitations depending on the software you're using to record your content, as well as the physical hardware. So that's just concerning whether or not your hardware and software is capable of recording that 4K footage. Now, in addition to the hardware and software that you're using to record your videos, there's also the file storage capacity issue. Now, 4K video footage is larger than HD video footage, as you might expect. How much larger is obviously dependent upon the type of 4K footage that you're filming, whether or not it's a raw file or a compressed file like an MP4, whether or not you're filming at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second. Depends on the codec you're using. If you're using something like a DSLR camera or even a cinema camera versus a webcam, all of these things are going to impact the overall size. But just generally speaking, let's say that an HD video recorded over an hour takes up about 4.5 gigabytes of storage. You're looking at a 4K 30 frames per second on your iPhone. It's going to be about 36 to 40 gigabytes of storage. So again, that 1 hour of HD footage was 4.5, and that 1 hour of 4K on an iPhone, granted, an iPhone is almost 40 gigabytes. So little less than 10 times the size of that file, that HD file to that 4K file. And so I mention that because you've got to have the ability to store that video file. But then if you're not the one who's doing the editing, you also have to have the ability to transfer that file size, that larger file size. So that's definitely something you're going to want to keep in mind. Granted, you're probably not necessarily doing an hour take every single video. We're probably looking at more like 10 to 20 minutes worth of raw footage. So even if you're filming in 4K, you might be looking at more like 10 or 15 gigabytes. If you're transferring that file over, let's say, Google Drive, and you just have a basic G Suite account, then you're limited at 15 gigabytes of storage space. So you're going to basically take up that entire storage capacity of your G Suite, your basic account in your Google Docs to send that video file to your editor. You can purchase more storage, and that's just something that you have to know going into it, that you might have to have more digital space in order to transfer those files. It's obviously going to take more time to upload those files as well. So that's the technicality of, are you even able to film 4K? But the answer still remains, if you have the ability, yes. So let's say that you have the storage capacity, you've figured out a solution for getting that video footage to your editor, and you have a camera or a webcam or whatever that is able to record in 4K. Why then would you want to record in 4K? Well, first, it's kind of future proof. You could look over the last 20 years and see that, we every couple years are upgrading our quality in video. So 4K already exists. It's existed for a while, and now we're coming out with cameras that film in 8K. But we're just now getting to the point where most homes have a 4K TV or computer or something like that. So 4K visuals, as far as that monitor is, as far as that viewing ability is concerned, is just now becoming widespread. I don't mean that this is new technology. I just mean that as far as the average consumer in America, this has now become the standard. 4K has become that standard. So when I say future-proof, I don't really necessarily mean for the next 10 years. We're getting to the point where 8K cameras are becoming more and more available to consumers. They're still a little bit outside of the price range of the average consumer, but we're getting to that point. But what I mean by that is, if you decide that you want to remain using HD footage for now, if for whatever reason you just don't feel the need to move on to 4K footage, if you're still capturing 4K footage, but you're posting that HD footage instead, if you scale that 4K down to 8 HD size, you can hold on to that 4K footage, and that now becomes something that you can use in the future when you are ready to start producing that 4K footage. Now, that's probably not most people. Most people are probably, if you're getting 4K, you're thinking, all right, we're ready to start posting in 4K. And again, that still kind of falls under future proof, because 4K is the average consumer at this point. And so if you are looking at HD, you're looking at probably needing to replace that HD with 4K within the next couple of years. Otherwise, you're going to start being on the back end of that quality. So in addition to future proof, we also have the editing ability of 4K resolution. If you decide to film in 4K, but you're not necessarily set on producing 4K videos. And what I mean by that is, if you're willing to downgrade that 4K, to scale that 4K down to even 2K, which is still bigger than HD video, then filming in 4K allows you to digitally crop in. That means you're able to zoom in digitally during the editing process and not lose that resolution. So you start off with this big 4K image, you crop in a little bit, and then you ultimately scale all that down to 2K. And not only do you come out with a cleaner image, because downscaled 4K is better than filming in 2K or filming in HD, but you also have allowed yourself to crop in on that image. And when you downscale, it's still larger than 2K to begin with. So your video file, your video footage looks uniform. Your video footage looks uniform. It all looks 2K because it was all filmed above and then cropped in. Now, for those of you that maybe that doesn't make any sense, have you ever taken an image, whether on your phone or on your computer, on your tablet, and you've blown it up, you've zoomed in on that image? You notice how it gets blurry the more you zoom in? At first, it's not too bad, but the further and further you go, the more zoomed in you get, the more blurry that image gets, the more the quality degrades. The same thing happens with video footage. So as I say, digitally crop in, what I mean is you take this video footage and you jump in. If you zoom in on that video file, using a digital crop, you are effectively zooming in on that image. And if you, let's say, film in HD and then crop in, digitally crop in on an HD image, the second image, that zoomed in image, is going to be more blurred. It's going to be a lower quality than that full image. You're doing the same thing. You're zooming in and lowering the quality. And so the way that that works in the inverse, saying if you film in 4K, is okay, if you film in 4K, you have this 4K image, and when you zoom in, it's a little less than 4K. But if you then take that overall and scale it down to 2K or HD, then you have leveled the playing field. Every part of that video is now 2K or HD, and it's coming from a higher quality video. So again, not only is it cleaner and crisper, but then it all looks the same, and it's that uniform quality. It's just a great way to utilize 4K without necessarily having to produce a 4K image. So that's really it. I hope I didn't lose you in the weeds. This was a little bit more technical of a video. Again, basically, yes, if you have the ability to film in 4K, then I would encourage you to do so. I say ability because there's the technicality of it. Are you able to store that footage? Are you able to transfer it to your editor? Are you able to record that footage? If you do, and if that's something you desire, then this gives you the opportunity to obviously record and produce 4K image, but then even mess with the image a little bit and zoom in and all that kind of stuff, and then produce a 2K image, which is still better than HD. So I know that gets really technical, and I hope that, like I said, I didn't lose you in the weeds there, but I felt it was kind of necessary to discuss this issue of 4K. This is something that I have to dialogue out with my clients as we're talking about what kind of equipment to purchase. Do we go ahead and make the jump to 4K? Because there's a monetary cost associated to that. And that's one thing I encourage them to consider because of that, again, future-proof aspect of using 4K footage. So I hope you found this video helpful today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please give us a like, smash that thumbs up button over there down in the corner. If you have a comment or question about the video today, please drop it down in the comment section. I would love to interact with you and engage with you in that way. Like I said, I would do my best to respond as quickly as possible, and we may even turn it into a long form video so that we can further that dialogue. If you are not a subscriber already, please become a subscriber today. Don't forget to smash that notification bell so that you're notified of all of our upcoming videos. Thank you again so much for sticking it out and watching the whole video. We appreciate you. We'll see you next Friday.
Oh, fire and water me, going down deep, sing, oh, bury me, carry me, far beneath. Down to the river.